store for you. Charles Fels, a lifelong summer resident of the Les Cheneaux, has put together a marvelous presentation. And it will be on the early years of
Use your
Aldo
gymnasium
Leopold
voice.
Festival here exploring the islands. And we thank you all for coming. Thank you, Charles. It was a wonderful
Thank you all. It's a joy to be with so many people who love Les Cheneaux and love its history. Dan Noyes has just counted the house and tells me we've got 66 people in here, which is a great opportunity to meet and greet other people of like mind. I apologize to those in the back. I know it's not easy to see or to hear, and if you feel like coming forward and trying to move closer, that's fine with me, and the fire marshal's not here tonight, so I think it'll be okay. Aldo Leopold, at Les Cheneaux. You know these islands. This is a picture taken from the east side of the islands. I mentioned that at the very beginning because Aldo spent most of his time on the west side of the Les Cheneaux Islands. The world remembers him in these terms. Among the three greatest figures in American conservation: Thoreau, Muir, Aldo Leopold. This is him just shortly before he died from a heart attack at the age of 61, helping a neighbor fight a forest fire on the neighbor's property. Not here, in Wisconsin. He's best known for his work in a series of essays called Sand County Almanac. There are many wonderful aspects of that book, and the Historical Society has excerpted them and has them on a display and has copies for those who would like to have them. And I encourage you to read those. But to me, the most important thing he said was this: the oldest task of humanity is to live on a piece of land without spoiling it. So the world remembers him in those terms. And as you know, and as this weekend will celebrate, after his death, he became famous. He was not famous before he died. So that gives us all a little hope, doesn't it? But the world remembers him in those terms. We remember him a little differently. We remember him as a kid who spent his summer at Les Cheneaux. And that's what we're here to talk about this evening. He was, along with his family, on Marquette Island. And there we go. At Club Point. Do you all know where that is? Okay. And he learned lessons here and there that stuck with him for the rest of his life. And we're going to talk this evening about him, his family, and his activities here, because I think they may suggest something about what we might want to do with our own lives. Isn't this beautiful? And we get to share it. Aldo Leopold lived from 1887 to 1948. Those dates are fixed. We know what they are. What we're not so sure about is when was he in Les Cheneaux with his family. It could have been as early as 1890. We're confident that his last recorded visit was in 1913 with his wife, but his daughter, Nina, told Bernice Weiss some years ago that she remembered coming back to Les Cheneaux with her father to stay at the second Leopold cottage. And that would have been sometime in the 30s or the 40s. A little background. Nobody has done much work about Aldo Leopold in his time at Les Cheneaux. Dr. Kurt Miney, who has written the official standard biography, took 638 pages to describe Aldo Leopold's life. 3 of those pages are about Les Cheneaux. And so what we've done tonight, and I hope the Historical Society will help us continue to do, is to begin to focus on this little-known aspect of his life. And my ambition for the Historical Society is there will come a time when every scrap of paper that refers to Aldo Leopold at Les Cheneaux will be here and available for people who come to visit us. We're a long ways from getting there, but we've begun. And I want to thank Dan Noyes, who is here right now as the official photographer, for getting us started in this important work, and Bernice Weiss, who now lives in the summer cottage that was the second Leopold summer cottage, for her interest. Bernice is now 90 years of age, and she's not here tonight, but at 90 years of age, she's coming back to Les Cheneaux in the next 10 days, and I think that's an inspiration for us all as well. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank Julie and Mary and Gail and my dear friend Richie R.B. Smith and George Covington, who had a great deal to do with creating the Aldo Leopold Preserve using the name suggested to him by Dan Noyes. Little background. Aldo Leopold was the first child of Carl and Clara Leopold. He was born in Burlington, Iowa, which seems like an odd place for a kid to come from to go to Les Cheneaux. He was his mother's boy, or as we say down south, he was his mama's boy. She had 4 children, but you know who her favorite was. And more importantly, all the family knew who her favorite was, and that was Aldo. He was also his father's son. His father was a hunter, an outdoorsman, a sportsman, and he taught Aldo about hunting and fishing from a very early day. He had 1 sister and 2 brothers. Marie was a younger sister, 1 year younger, and that's important because she's the one that winds up with the Leopold property and the Leopold cottage. And 2 sons, Carl Jr. and Frederick, known to the family as Fritz, and he's important because we have a reminiscence by Fritz about what it was like for the Leopolds to come up to Les Cheneaux in the 1890s and the 1900s. Here's Carl. You get the point? Gun in one hand, dog in another. Yeah, beautiful stuff. And here's Clara. They were first cousins. Now in the South, we'd be worried about that. Burlington, Iowa, it was all right. But they were worried about it. And after their 4 children all turned out to be healthy and productive citizens, Carl said, I guess we missed a bullet.
Wow.
Here are the first 3 kids. This is around 1892. Aldo would have been about 5. It's Aldo right here on the right. Marie, a year younger, in the center. And young Carl on the left. Carl Leopold owns something called the Leopold Desk Company. He made high-end roll-top desks, solid wood. The Historical Society has a roll-top desk. I don't think it's a Leopold desk, but it's similar to the kind of things that he made. And he had a motto. He came from a German background, and this motto sounds kind of German, doesn't it? Built with honor to endure. He sometimes said that he built the best possible furniture he could build, and if he made money doing it, then that was all right with him. And mostly he made money, but not always. This is Carl and Clara at home in Burlington, Iowa, with their very first automobile, a horseless carriage, the first in town. And the reason they found their way to Les Cheneaux is because Clara had a problem. And some of us here have that same problem. She had hay fever. And she had hay fever at a time when there really was no medicine for it. There was no treatment for it. You just suffered. Clara had a loving mother and father. They didn't like to watch their little girl suffer. And so they started to look around for a place that didn't have hay fever from, say, the 1st of August to the mid to latter part of September. And this is from Fritz's reminiscences about Les Cheneaux. He says, our summer routines were tremendously affected by Mother's severe hay fever. Seeking relief for her, our grandparents discovered a unique summer resort, the Les Cheneaux Club. Now, it was not by accident they discovered the Les Cheneaux Club. In 1888, 4 businessmen from Bay City, Michigan, bought 55 acres on Marquette Island for $750, and they were in the land business. And they would sell you, or me, or Carl, or Clara, a fine piece of land at Les Cheneaux for cheap. And moreover, if you had any doubts about the wisdom of your investment, they would make this guarantee. Hay fever patients find, get this, immediate relief upon reaching the club. And Dr. Cynthia is in the back of the room here, and she knows this. And many sufferers have been permanently cured. Can't beat a guarantee like that, can you? So this is where they came, and that's why they came. Simple as that. Question that we've had over on Club Point is, when in the world did these folks buy on Club Point? And I have spent a number of days, as my wife Susan knows, going through the files, and found at the end of 3 or 4 hours of the first day of search this letter which answers this question. It's an original letter from Charles Leopold. And I'll put it up on the screen so you can see it. And it's on display at the museum later on if you want to look at it there. But here it is. To Captain J.T. Patton, Secretary. Dear Sir, since writing you yesterday, I have looked up the matter of my contract with the Cheneaux Club. I find the contract is dated September 1st, 1890. And he got the deed issued 1896. That's really very early. This is Captain Patton, the man that he wrote to. And just to summarize, Carl made a $20 down payment on a $200 piece of land. Now remember, how much did the whole Les Cheneaux Club Point cost? $750. Now here he is buying in 2 years later for $200. Somebody from Bay City was making money. And they had low, easy terms. $20 every 6 months. And he faithfully paid it, according to the letter. His bookkeeper paid it every 6 months until he owned it free and clear in 1895. The question is, did they come to Les Cheneaux? Did Aldo Leopold come to Les Cheneaux in that period of time? We don't know the answer yet. We do know that Marie, the little girl, the little sister, eventually sold the family property in 1950. So we know that the Leopold family was in Les Cheneaux from 1890 to 1950, or at least owned property here. This is from the Standard Biography. For the Leopold children, the most important day of the year, apart from Christmas, came early in August when they packed up in Burlington, Iowa, and came to Les Cheneaux. Here they are about 1901. This is Clara. That's Aldo, looking pretty sharp. Marie, Carl Jr., and Fritz. And Fritz tells us that in those days you could only get to Les Cheneaux by water. You all know that. No roads. And that Cedarville and Hessel were tiny villages on the mainland. And the only year-round residents were in Cedarville and Hessel, according to Fritz. Here's what they did. There's Burlington. They would take a train at 4:30 in the morning from Burlington to Chicago, get out at Chicago, walk the dogs over to the steamship that they would then take up Lake Michigan, mostly out of sight of land, to Mackinac Island, and then transfer to the Islington steamship from the Arnold Lines. This is the ship they used to